What's going on, guys? Apathettic here with all your tips, recommendations, and everything in between. And in today's video, we're discussing the Warlock exotic that makes Empowering Rifts even more OP. And it's probably one of the most underutilized exotics in Destiny 2 right now. With top Warlock exotics like Transversive Steps and Apathettic aspects dominating the Crucible, no surprise that this exotic has flown under the radar for so long. But what if I told you that you could have unlimited Empowering Rifts and unlimited Arc Buddies helping you dish out insane amounts of damage in the Crucible? The exotic in question is Aeon Soul Exotic Gloves, and when paired with Bottom Tree Arc, make for an insane amount of damage. So I'm going to cover the exotic perk you want to choose for Aeon Soul, how it synergizes with Bottom Tree Stormcaller, and how to use this exotic to make your Warlock unstoppable in the Crucible. Before that, I also have a Discord for people looking to team up, discuss builds, or ask questions, so consider joining the Discord using the link below if you're looking to connect with some like-minded Destiny players. With that, let's get into it. Getting into our exotic, and it's the Aeon Soul Exotic Gauntlets. The cool thing about these gauntlets is they recently got reworked and a lot of their abilities changed. With the Aeon Cult mods, you have 3 different options, and the main one we want to choose is Sect of Vigor. Gain class ability energy as your allies die, gain full class ability energy when you resurrect an ally. The second benefit is when you cast your super, nearby allies gain an instant burst of healing, and Aeon Cult allies or people who are wearing their version of this exotic do not have the Sect of Vigor role equipped also gain an overshield. And that's all cool, but the main thing we care about is that class ability energy as your allies die. And this is something that when I initially used it, I thought you would need to be very close to your allies for it to work, but they can actually be on the other side of the map in order for you to take full advantage of this ability. So you can literally run around the map, and as people on your team die, you're still going to get 25% ability energy for each ally that dies. So each teammate that dies, you're going to get plus 25%. Now the other thing we're going to talk about is how Sect of Vigor is actually going to stack really well with our subclass of choice for this build, and how it also stacks with the stats we choose to invest in on Warlock. Jumping into the subclass that pairs best with the Aeon Soul Exotic, and it's going to be Bottom Tree Stormcaller. And as first you have Landfall, so when casting Storm Trance you fire a bolt of lightning into the ground, creating a devastating shockwave. This is an awesome perk. It actually kills most people when they're generally close to you, and it's a great way to defensively use your super, but not really the feature of why we're choosing this specific subclass for this build. Moving on, we got Arc Soul. Your Rift now grants you and your ally that uses it an Arc Soul to aid in battle. And this is an awesome feature of this build because since we're beginning our Empowering Rift basically almost all the time, you're going to be in a point where you're popping rifts on top of rifts. Literally, the ability to have an Arc Soul that further helps you output damage when you're standing in those powering rifts and outputting that damage is awesome, because it just means it's one less shot you have to put in your enemies in order to secure the kill. Next, we have Electrostatic Surge. Your rifts last longer and it charges faster when allies are near, and this is kind of just the icing on the cake. It's almost overkill at this point with how fast we are going to be getting our Empowering Rifts back, but having this just really amplifies how fast we're getting rifts, just in case we get to a point where for whatever reason our teammates are dying. This is going to make sure that our rifts are lasting a little bit longer and charging faster when we're around our teammates. And lastly, we have Rising Storm. This electrocuting melee ability recharges your super grenade and melee energy. Again, just more kind of an icing on the cake type of deal. Not really the main feature or focus of why we're choosing this subclass in general. Again, it comes back to Electrostatic Surge and Arc Soul. Especially the Arc Soul, this is incredibly handy. It allows you to, in some cases, really get a heads up on when enemy's pushing you, because that Arc Soul just starts randomly shooting at a direction. And there's been scenarios where I was ADSing with my DMT or a hand cannon, all of a sudden I see my Arc Soul shooting, and that alerts me that there's an enemy actually closer to me. So it almost has like a sentry-like effect as well. In terms of our other abilities, you can honestly use whatever you want here between Arc Bolt Grenade, Storm Grenade. I highly recommend Burst Glide, since that's kind of like you get around the map as quick as possible, but making sure we are using Empowering Rift. You could use Healing Rift if you just want to be constantly healing all the time, but honestly, the real benefit for me of running this build with Aeon Soul and Sect of Vigor is the Empowering Rift, the ability to 2-tap with your 120 hand cannons, or as you're going to see here in a little bit when we talk about our loadout with DMT, is absolutely OP. Empowering Rifts are already incredibly strong in this meta and will be in the coming metas as well. And so the ability to get this rift non-stop and not have to even think about where you're dropping it, you can just be constantly dropping Empowering Rifts wherever you want, getting Arc Buddies as well, and giving your allies Arc Buddies is just It's insane, guys. I'm super excited to share this build with you. I think it's actually going to be pretty annoying to face in the Crucible as more and more people use it, but using Empowering Rift is truly the key to running this build. Breaking down our loadout and the weapons you're going to want to use, I highly recommend running Dead Man's Tale or DMT. Obviously, this weapon is currently basically broken in the meta. We know a nerf is coming soon. That's why you're going to really want to try Dead Man's Tale with this build before that nerf comes. There is going to be some kind of nerf or change to the way the hip fire on this weapon works, where you have the increased hip rate of fire and removes your hip fire accuracy penalties. And essentially with Dead Man's Tale, you can just hip fire to your heart's content, standing in the Empowering Rift, two-tapping people like crazy, especially as you start stacking Cranial Spike. And on top of that, then you have the Arc Buddy that's also helping you with some of those closer range engagements. When an enemy starts trying to push in on you with a shotgun or a hand cannon, your Arc Buddy starts doing that little chip damage, and then you can just mow him down with your Dead Man's Tale. I highly recommend mainly hip firing with this weapon, so that way you can absolutely just melt people. But if people are at certain ranges, when you ADS, it's going to be easy 2-taps all day in those Empowering Rifts. Getting into our shotgun, I'm just running Fellwinter's Lie. You can honestly run any shotgun, or even if you want a sniper, but I recommend something up close since you're going to most likely be running Dead Man's Tale, and something up close to defend you if for some reason they close on the gap on you a little too quick and you need to finish them off with that shoddy. Heavy doesn't really matter for this build, not really the feature or focus point of it, I would say. You're really going to be running Dead Man's Tale all day on this. Again, this build also works very well with 120s, even after they get their nerf. But as of right now, Dead Man's Tale has got to be my favorite to run with this build, because it's just stacking this overpowered ability with this overpowered weapon to absolutely just wreak havoc in the Crucible. As for our stats, since I know you guys love knowing what the stats I'm running on a specific build is, the main thing I focus on is running tier 10 recovery. And the reason you want to do that is that's going to give us the class ability cooldown of 41 seconds. But with Aeon Soul and running Sect of Vigor and Electrostatic Surge, you're going to be getting your Rift in like literally less than 14 seconds. So before you're even out of your current Rift, you're going to be getting your Rift back. So anything we can do to further amplify how quickly we're getting back our class ability is going to be a yes from me. So making sure we're getting as much into our recovery as possible. I then run tier 5 discipline, so I can throw my storm grenade just as another way to keep people pushing into my Rift, or keep like a doorway locked down. You also have tier 10 intellect, so you can get that super back very quickly and use those defensive supers again if somehow people are closing the gap on you and you absolutely need to use your super. Something else I also recommend though is under your class item, I'm running double bomber. Obviously you could run, there's other options you could do here. You could run distribution if you want to go totally crazy, but I ran double bomber. So that way each time I'm popping my Rift, I'm getting basically half my grenade back in terms of energy. So I highly recommend something like that, so you can stack it up, get those constant grenades, and really just create a nice synergy between your Rift and your grenade energy. And then higher energy fire as well. Just another way we can continue to 2-tap enemies is you're gonna be getting lots of multi-kills with your DMT, and so it's gonna drop a lot of orbs and then help your enemies or your allies drop orbs, so you can pick up those orbs and get those 2-taps with high energy fire. And then making sure that we're running double scout rifle loader, or just scout rifle loader once the artifact goes away, scout rifle targeting as well. Anything to make our DMT even easier to use as if it needs it. Unflinching scout rifle aim as well to make sure that our shots are going where they're supposed to, even when we're taking damage. So in order to take full advantage of this build, it's really quite simple, guys. You want to just make sure you have the Aeon Soul exotic gauntlets on, you have Sect of Vigor selected, and literally just your enemies dying is going to be giving you that class ability energy. And again, 25% each time when your allies dies. And the nice thing about this is you can then stack it with that high recovery, stack it with electrostatic surge, and then on top of that, you're getting those arc buddies to help you do that chip damage. And the great thing is when you're in that Empowering Rift, you're going to be 2-tapping when you ADS. Absolutely, you're going to be 2-tapping when you hip fire, and the hip fire option is great on DMT because you can use it long range, you can use it close range. I don't think I really need to go over the top and explain to you guys how strong Dead Man's Tale truly is, as most people know how strong it is already, but it just goes to an entire another level when you're able to pop Empowering Rift after Empowering Rift. You don't have to think about where you're popping your Empowering Rifts anymore. You can really just pop them to your heart's content because you're gonna be getting them back so frequently. And on top of that, you're always going to be running around with your arc buddies. Your allies are going to be constantly running around with those arc buddies, and you're absolutely just be shutting down games with this build. There were so many games I was playing where I was just shredding the enemy team, and before you know it, I'm getting solo super, getting focused by their entire team, and I'm still slaying out. That's just how strong this build is. You're going to be drawing so much attention because people aren't going to understand why you're always in these empowering rifts. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below on this build and how you would improve it, or what your thoughts are once you try it in the Crucible. It's one of the funnest, most overpowered builds I've tried in a long time, and I can't believe it's taken me this long to put it all together. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out the video on the screen to see more awesome Warlock builds. And if you want more content like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, as they're all free ways to support me. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.